Braves have 2 rainouts and 2 L's versus the Reds, dropping to 54 and 46 on the season. Game 3 postponed until September 9th. Welcome to another edition of ATL Prime Sports. I'm JJ Jurjevich. Joining me this evening, the whole crew: Larry Gardner in Adairsville, Wayne Ridenauer in beautiful Memphis, Tennessee, and of course TC Todd Corder up there in the Woodstock area. Guys, you can catch us all on Twitter or X at ATL Prime Sports. Also on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Personal X's at JJ Get You One for myself, at RWY Junior for Wayne, at Corder Todd for Todd Corder, and of course at LG the number 4 Real Though for the voice of the Rome Emperors, Larry Gardner. Larry, how you doing tonight, man?
Man, it's good to be back. It feels like it's been forever since I've been able to be on video with you guys, man. But everything is well up here in the rainy Adairsville area. But I'm glad to be back on with the crew, man. How y'all doing?
No, I'm doing
good,
pretty
man.
I'm doing all right. We had that rain yesterday and probably going to get some more tomorrow. I'm not going to balk at it, though, because I did get my grass cut before the rain came, and so I'm good for at least another week. But, apart from all that, MLB is coming up. The August MLB is coming up, and that's going to determine a lot of things, I believe, by the end of that month.
Yep, pennant races are heating up. Todd, how you doing this evening, man?
Well, the weather's brought to you by, no, just kidding. Hey, happy birthday to you, JJ. Just want to let you know your daughter saved your bacon today. She found some interesting amounts of bacon, and, it was a relief to you. Speaking of Major League Baseball, the standings, it's incredible this time of the year. When you look at them, in the National League, every team is in it, but Colorado in Miami, separate 5-6 games separate the top of the AL or top of the NL wild card to the bottom, and in the AL, everybody's almost in it except for a few teams. And a couple more games separate them, and the Yankees are only 2.5 up from being out of the playoffs, and the Braves are only 3. So we got 10 teams chasing 3 spots in the AL, and 12 teams chasing 3 spots in the NL. And Wade's right, the trade deadline is going to be critical. We'll see who's in, and we'll see who is out. That means buy or sell.
Yeah, guys, I'm doing great, but not as well as this old jingle. NBA on ESPN is back, ladies and gentlemen. The greatest jam in sports history is back. And the NBA is back. After a little hiatus, the NBA signed an 11-year deal with Amazon, NBC, and, of course, old Disney. So that jam is back and well in our heads yet again, and I can't be more happy for it. What's on tap for today's show? We're talking Falcons training camp. We all got the gear on. You see it. And we're talking Braves and that oh-so devastating news that just came around the corner, and we'll talk about that when we get into the Braves segment. But let's kick this show off, pun intended, with the Atlanta Falcons. Started training camp earlier Wednesday morning, as rookies and vets reported. Let's talk Dirty Birds, guys. Let's go around and talk about our biggest questions that we have for this team going into training camp. And I'll start it off. I'm really interested in this one because I think I'm the only one that has this. And I've asked Will McFadden when he's come on the last 2 years this has happened. Eddie Goldman, the defensive lineman, had a really good career in Chicago. Has come here, retired twice. I'm really anxious to see if he gets it going and he's able to contribute with Grady Jarrett, Harrison, and all these other young defensive linemen. And if he's able to get that mentoring down, get some good reps, get maybe 4, 5, 6 sacks here and there. Again, a sack by committee, kind of like we were talking last year, guys. That's my biggest question mark. If he can play, that's a huge X factor if he's anywhere close to what he used to be coming into Atlanta. Larry, let's see what your biggest question mark is going into training camp.
My biggest question mark is the difference between number 8 and number 9. How long will it take for Kirk Cousins to be 100%, to get behind center, to be the engine that drives the offense that they paid him for in this offseason, the quicker the better. Because I'm going to tell you, if Michael Penix plays lights out during the preseason, you have just started the biggest quarterback controversy since Chris Chandler and Michael Vick. And this is not what you want under a first-year head coach in the first year with a new regime trying to rebrand a brand new image. You want that offense to be clicking, because I believe the defense last year, as poor as it was still good enough if you had quarterback play to win you at least 3 more games. So my biggest question mark is really how quickly can we get Kirk Cousins to 100% and see what this offense looks like under his leadership.
I like it. It is a huge question mark. Todd, I think, has the same question. It's basically the health of Kirk Cousins. And I mentioned this in prior past. You guys probably remember this. I said, I like Michael Penix, but the fact is you draft him, and what happens? You're immediately putting a time clock on Kirk Cousins now. Whether good or bad, we'll find out. Todd, your biggest question mark for the Atlanta Falcons going into training camp?
It is Kirk Cousins at 36 years old. How is he going to come back from the Achilles? It's either Kirk Cousins of old, great. If he's not, then Mike Penix is up at what, age 25? He'll be 25 soon. No, he's 24, so he'll be 25 next May. But, that's not a typical rookie's age in the National Football League. So, you know what? Maybe drafting Penix as an insurance guy may pay off. Who knows? Everybody thought it was crazy at the beginning of the year. I didn't like it because I thought you need to build the depth of your football club, especially since you put all that money into Kirk Cousins. You're going to pay him till he's 40 years old, gentlemen. And to me, he's got to stay healthy for Atlanta to have a chance, because it'll be just like last season if Cousins is not 100%. See how he moves around, going side to side with that Achilles. Is he able to throw on the run? Because he'll be fine in the pocket. It's when he gets out of the pocket and what he's able to do. That to me is the biggest question for the Falcons, because they don't have a healthy Kirk Cousins. It's going to be a repeat of last season.
Wayne, what say you, man? You're a fan. What's your biggest question mark? Is it Kirk Cousins as well, or do you have another question mark down the line?
No, I'm still wondering what they're going to do with their defense. Their offense, I've got no questions, concerns, worries at all about. They can score with no problem. The problem is keeping the other team from scoring. And if they can have a defense that'll last beyond the, third series in the third quarter, we'll do better.
Yeah, guys, all valid questions. I think another good question would be, what are we going to see out of Kyle Pitts in this new regime with Morris, new offensive coordinator, all the way across the board? Is this going to help or hurt Kyle Pitts? I think it should help him. But the fifth-year option, he's basically playing for a whole nother contract because we did not pick up that fifth-year option, if I remember correctly. Another thing, guys, remember, Oneonta, Grady Jarrett's back. This team is actually fairly deep. Contavious Street, Arojo. I'm excited to see the young guys. Those are all going to be big question marks. So Wayne and I have question marks on the D. And the other two guys, we've got question marks at the quarterback position. And, hey, it's much better, as Larry mentioned, you draft Michael Penix, this is part of the territory. So head coaching and general manager Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris going to have to get on the same page. Larry, elaborate a little bit more on some other question marks, or just a little Falcons talk in general.
No, I mean, if I had I know my QB is 1A, but if I had a 1B, it's who is going to be the cornerback opposite A.J. Terrell. That was one of the biggest things that I hated that they didn't address in the offseason, which leads me to believe that they think enough of Clark Phillips to assume that role for them, at least as they go into training camp. Now, who knows? As training camp unfolds and things, they work themselves out. Who knows is on the opposite side of the ball. But the one thing that I am confident in is Jesse Bates is still going to be an all-pro safety. He's going to be the leader of that defense, but he's going to need some help. AJ is playing for a contract as well. He's going to need some help. If he's shutting down whoever's on that side of the field and the quarterback begins to pick on CB2 or whoever's the second cornerback, I really would love somebody that I can have some confidence in that could balance it out, because I don't care who you are. You could be the second coming of Deion Sanders. If your defensive line is not getting enough pressure on the opposite team's quarterback, you can only cover for so long. So I would love to see them. I'd love to have seen them address it in the offseason, but you got to think that Coach Rye and his crew knows what they're doing, and we just got to trust the process.
Todd, a little bit more, another question you may have, or just, again, a little bit more Falcons talk in general. Go ahead.
I'll elaborate on what Larry said. I mean, the defensive line is going to have – there's two things in the NFL that you have to do. You have to protect the quarterback, especially Kirk Cousins, with that Achilles injury. And number two, you've got to get to the cornerback, because it doesn't matter who the corners are. Larry mentioned it, Deion Sanders, whoever it is, Revis Island, it doesn't matter. If you can't get to the quarterback, you can forget it. And those are two concerns going into the season for the Falcons. Zach Harrison, that was we'll see if that turns out to be a nice draft pick on the edge. But, there's a lot of question marks regarding this team, and they're surely not a shoe-in to A, win the division, or B, most certainly make the playoffs, even with Kirk Cousins. It depends, even if he's healthy. I mean, Tampa Bay is going to build from a year ago. This is going to be a competitive division. I don't think is it the Falcons to win? Not necessarily. It should be a close race.
I tend to think it is the Falcons to lose. I got to respectfully disagree with you there. I think they got the best roster. As Larry mentioned, with just a little bit better quarterback play, they most likely win that division last season. Look, you have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL on paper. Matthews, Bergeron, Dalman, Lindstrom, McGarity. They've been together for a couple years. The chemistry's there. They're all healthy going into the year. I think that's a big non-question mark in the Atlanta Falcons front office right now, is their offensive line is legit. Bijan Robinson in year 2 is going to probably get the lid taken off of this offense, hopefully. After last year with Arthur Smith reducing carries and something. Remember last year with Arthur Smith, guys, there was one half where Bijan Robinson only touched the ball twice in the second half, and they were basically decoy plays after having like 100 total yards in the first half and a touchdown or something like that. But fact of the matter is, year 2, you got a great offensive line, and that's something you can hang your hat on. And I think that's half the reason Kirk Cousins decided to come here, is he knows he can be pretty well protected. But guys, moving forward, this is going to be.
Can I say something?
Please.
Something? That's half the reason he's coming here. The other half is we all know why, the big bag of money.
Of course, the Brinks truck that they backed up to his front yard, that one?
Yes, sir, it did. Now, 2, the defense gave up 7 game-winning last drives a year ago. One of them was the hapless Carolina. So, again, it's not a shoe-in to win the division.
I mean, well, of course, nothing's a shoe-in, but I'm just simply saying, as a betting favorite, I think it's safe to say. But no, you're exactly right. Nothing's sure in the NFL. I mean, it's the most competitive league in the world, if you ask this guy. Guys, any final thoughts? Let's go around. Wayne, you want to get one more thought on your Dirty Birds there?
No, I'm just ready for the season to start.
Yeah, we're almost there, man. We're almost there. Larry, I see you shaking your head. You good too, or?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm like this, and I know TC. He's big about nothing's a shoe in, but I'm a firm believer, man. If Kirk Cousins is the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons last year, this is an 11-win team, and it's an 11-win team easily because Drake London, he gets big time balls because he's got a better delivery system, and even a hurt Kyle Pitts. I'm telling y'all, I believe Kyle Pitts is going to bust up for like 1,200 yards and about 12 to 13 touchdowns this year because he's got somebody that can get him the ball, just like he did when he had Matt Ryan. When we had Matt Ryan, he was an all-pro. I expect to see him return to all-pro form this year and become the unicorn that we thought we had when we drafted him number 4 overall.
I like that assessment. I'll tell you another thing. I love the additions of Mooney and Moore. Two speed guys. Mooney, when he came with the Bears, had a pretty good, I think it was 60 and 80 catch season. Then Justin Fields gets there and his production drops completely off. I think with Drake London, Rondell Moore, Kyle Pitts, Ray McLeod, Charlie Warner, these are all guys that are going to see playing time. And we already mentioned the unicorn, what we think could be Kyle Pitts. This offense could be extremely explosive, and Darnell Mooney could be a big part of that offense, guys. I can't wait for the season.
They gave Mooney, though, a lot of money. And, you know, Larry said it well. He said, hey, if we had Kirk Cousins, we would have won the division. Well, if my aunt had nuts, she'd be my uncle. They didn't have Kirk Cousins last year. To quote the great Don Cherry, the former Boston Bruins coach, they have Kirk Cousins this year. We can't say what they had last year. They would have had this or that. I mean, if the Lions had blown a 24-7 lead against San Francisco in the third quarter, they'd have been in the Super Bowl. The results are what they are.
Well, guys, that completes our Atlanta Falcons talk. If you like the content, please give us a like. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us at ATL Prime Sports across the board. We go from the NFL to Major League Baseball. Braves dealing with a bunch of injuries across the board. Can the Braves overcome these injuries and still compete for a World Series? Guys, with the news we got a couple hours ago that Michael Harris II was moved from the 10-day IL to the 60-day IL, and locally here in Atlanta, 92.9 The Game's Grant McCauley reported that he's not even close to sprinting yet. Makes me feel like he is going to be shut down for the remainder of the season. Time will tell. He could make a turnaround, who knows? But that news is extremely tough to take if you're a Braves fan. No Fried right now. Obviously, Strider and Acuna are gone. Riley's on parental leave. Albies with the fractured hand. We get a replacement in Whit Merrifield. He hurts his hand in BP and hasn't made his Braves debut yet. The injuries keep on piling. It's baseball, and if you get in the playoffs, anything can happen, as the Phillies and Diamondbacks have proven the last 2 years. But boy, the Braves are not making it easy on themselves by not staying healthy. And the crazy thing, Todd, you and I mentioned this off air, the two biggest question marks injury-wise coming into the season were Charlie Morton and Chris Sale, and they've been probably the healthiest guys on the team. That's how baseball is.
That's the amazing thing about it, JJ. You just can't tell what's going to happen when you're playing 162. They will get Fried back. They will get the third baseman back, Riley. That's not going to be a problem. But, you know, these injuries, it's part of the game. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. You're going to have to strap it up and play ball every day and make the best of your situation. AA is probably going to make a move at the deadline. It's coming up. I mentioned it earlier. Who's going to be buyers and who's going to be sellers? I'm thinking Atlanta's going to be a buyer. They have good pitching. If the remainder of the staff can stay healthy and they can add arm, they've got a chance in the postseason. But the injuries are part of it. I mean, the Dodgers have been through it too. Rohan, Walker Buehler, Mookie Betts, Ryan Brazier, Yamamoto, McGraw, Gretterall, Kershaw, Glasnow, Muncy, May, Sheehan. I mean, the Dodgers, that Godwin. I mean, these guys are all big names. Injuries are part of the game. Just going to have to overcome with it and see how it turns out. I mean, you have time. AA did revamp the entire outfield in 21. We'll see what happens the rest of the way. But they also, you know, we talk about injuries. They have players that are not playing like the back of their baseball card says so. I mean, they have several of them. Olsen is one of them. Riley's another one. Murphy's another one. Arcia's another one. Rosario's played well since he came here, but the back of his card doesn't look
Travis
good.
Darno's having a down year in terms of his contact. Absolutely.
Correct. Along with Duvall. Correct.
Yeah. Well, Larry, your thoughts, man.
Oh man, it's like this. The whole team can get hurt. that's not necessarily an issue. The problem with this Atlanta Braves team is nobody can hit. And if you can't hit, you can't win. I don't care if your pitcher goes out there with a 1 ERA. If you can't put a run on the board, he's going to lose every game. And that's the reason you're in the situation you're in. Atlanta is used to bailing themselves out with the long ball. Well, this team, I like what Matt Olson, man, the stat I saw the other day, it just blew my mind. Like he's won for his last, God almighty, I don't even know how long it is, but it's almost like he only had 1 hit in his last 8 games. And that's mind-blowing, to someone who was, 260, 270, and 50-plus home runs last year. The issue is simple. If Riley can't hit, if Olsen can't hit, if Murphy can't hit, who can you depend on? Nacho, I've seen him since he got to Rome and worked his way all the way up through the minor league system. Nacho is going to be a contact. He is going to be a contact hitter. He is not going to be a power guy. His glove is good enough to get you by, but at the end of the day, I don't care if it's Nacho and Kelnick. Who else do you have to depend on? You got to be able to start hitting the ball. You got to hit the baseball. And if you're not hitting the baseball,
can I elaborate on what Larry said? I like it because putting the ball in play is critical. Atlanta struck out 878 times compared to 277 walks. They only have 45 stolen bases. 16 of them were by Ronald Acuna before he got hurt. Think about that. They don't run, they don't put the ball in play, and they don't walk enough. You strike out a lot. You've got to have to change your approach at the plate. I know that's not popular in today's game, but if you don't put the ball in play or get on base, you have no chance.
No chance. Yeah, and to piggyback on your point, Larry, it was 1 for 24 until the doubleheader half header. Supposed to be a doubleheader. He had 2 hits in the game earlier today, but yeah, he was 1 for 24, 25 in that stretch. But let's actually talk about your Rome Emperors for a second, Larry. Let's shift for a quick second. Let's get a little report from the farm. There's some real talent down there. Rome's got a pretty good team. What's some future Braves we could see up in the next year or two?
Man, when I tell you Rome's pitching staff has been loaded this year, listen, Alex Anthopoulos has showed up several times, and they've taken I'll give you a couple of names that you're familiar with. Spencer Swellenbach, who just literally, I was calling his name out, watching him, and then next thing you know, he's in Atlanta. You got Drew Hackenberg, who's already in Mississippi, who has been lights out. Get ready to see another guy called Luis. His name is Luis Vargas. He is a power pitcher. He's 3 pitches. He's fastball, slider, changeup, high 90s on his velocity. He's always an innings eater. You'll get ready to see him come up real soon. 2 big names, one of which who went on Tommy John, and Owen Murphy. He is legit. I hate that he went down, but he'll be another big arm. So arms are not going to be a problem for the Braves farm system. The issue is going to be your batters, and juggling the AAA arms. Like I'm glad to see Ian Anderson get back in the groove of things because he looked good in his rehab starts there at Rome and in Augusta. He had his change of motion. All 4 pitches was working. He was anywhere between 71 and 96. So he looked a lot like himself, but again, it's against A and AA, and then of course he'll be in AAA here this week. So arms are not going to be your issue. It's going to be your bats. You've got to find somebody to do things, and you got to quit going through the spot start carousel with the Alan Winans and the Bryce Elders and the Darius Vines and those people. They got to find a way to get that 5th starter locked down. Hitting wise, Forrest Wall had an opportunity. He couldn't get the job done. You see, I don't even want to talk about what Zach Short's being. Me and him got a love-hate relationship. But there's so many different aspects as to what's going on in the minor leagues. I mean, you get ready to see people like Ethan Workinger, left fielder. He's great with average. He's going to be your prototypical outfielder. He can hit for average. He can drive in runs. He's not going to be a big power guy, but he's good to be able to do that. Kevin Kilpatrick Jr., center fielder, a very good speedster, very great defensively. Need to work on his average and hitting a little bit more, but he is going to be good. And he actually got a chance to spend some time in spring training with the big league team this year. So Problem with him is who's in center field already when healthy is Michael Harris. So where are you gonna put him? You know, so there are several things, whether it would be with Rome, whether it be with Mississippi, or whether it be with Gwinnett. Atlanta's got the farm system to be able to put themselves in position to be successful for years to come. The question is, going back to TC's point, is if Atlanta's going to make a big move at the deadline, how much of that are they going to have to sacrifice to be able to get what you need to get? Because having the AJ Smith-Schaubers and the Hurston Waldrops and the Swellenbachs and the Hackenbergs and the Murphys and the Vargases and the Munozes and all of those
and the Holmes
things that you got, you know, are great to have in the cupboard. But if you're going to get yourself a big time outfielder, or even in this case, you know, an infielder that people keep mentioning, and Miami has one, but we're not going to bring his name up. But the point I'm trying to make is how much of that are you going to have to sacrifice in order to get what you need to get even more competitive to make that final playoff push?
Larry, JJ and I talked about that today. How much of the farm system are you going to be able to dip in to stay competitive? I mean, they have depth in the system. It's not as much as it used to be. It'll be interesting to see what AA does at the deadline. I've got to ask you guys this, and then we'll probably be done. I mentioned at the beginning of the show, New York, Minnesota, and Kansas City are in the wild. They're the top three in the AL. Then you have 5 teams: Boston, Seattle, Tampa Bay, Detroit, and Texas, all within 6.5. I got to ask, the teams that are, you know, Boston will make a move. Seattle should. Will Tampa Bay and Detroit make a move? Texas has got money. They've got injuries. Which one of you guys see these teams buying and selling in the American League, JJ? And then we'll do the AL, then we'll get out of here.
Boy, American League, there's so many teams bunched up right there. Boy, I tell you what, I know Houston's overtaken the division there, but they're never out of it in terms of money and making a move at the deadline. I know they're a division leader, but they might make another move to solidify that division. You know, the Yankees are going to do it. I tell you, a team that I think should make a move and go after it this year is the Seattle Mariners. They got enough pitching. If they can get a couple bats, that would be my answer, Todd. The Seattle Mariners need to go make a move and get a big-time bat. And I think they got a real good shot with their young pitching staff.
They're
Bryce
not
Miller
playing well neither. They've lost 3 in a row. They're 2-8. You mentioned Houston, JJ. That's a veteran ball club. Been there and done that. And if they get in, they'll be a dangerous out. Detroit and Tampa Bay, I don't see those teams buying. The Tigers, the rumors of Struble coming to Atlanta, Flattery being traded. I don't know why teams do this, Larry. I don't know why in God's world you get rid of someone established and then in the off season you go get somebody established. You try to bulk your farm system up. You're just spinning your wheels every time you do it. How about adding to the club you got? What do you see in the AL, Larry?
No, I'm right there with you, man. And I use the example a lot of times when talking to friends. It's like when you're driving around in a 2019, 2020 Chevy Tahoe, fully loaded. It's been good. It's been faithful. It's helped you take all the kids around. But then you're riding down the street one day and you look over there to the right-hand side and you see one of the newbies over there sparkling and shined up with the tinted windows and nice wheels. And you say, let me take a look. And next thing you know, the salesman have pulled you in there. Next thing you know, you sitting in the office before you leave. Now you done traded in Old Faithful for something that you was really looking at. They're just being nosy. Now you got this big old car payment that you weren't expecting to have just as a rental. You know, and baseball is the same way. The big money teams are going to continue to make the moves. You know, the Houston's going to make the move. I'm telling you, Boston's going to make a move. The Yankees will make a move. And I know you say Detroit and Tampa don't, but I think Tampa needs to. You know, the AL East is not a runaway race when it comes to wild card things, man. And people sleep on Tampa, and I hate it for them, man, because Tampa for a long time has either been one bat or one arm away from winning it all. And it's just like I've been so close to seeing it, and it hadn't been able to get done. they really need to make a move. You know, you mentioned Seattle. Seattle's been in a slump here of late, but one bat can turn it around. We've seen it happen so many times at the trade deadline. And they don't even it ain't got to be a big move. It could be a subtle, like Jorge Soler type move, and then there you go. You're off to the races. So many different teams in the AL are all busting there together, and a lot of them are rivals, and they play each other a whole lot in the second half of the season. You know, who knows how it's going to shake out, but at the same time, there are smart GMs who are in place to make smart decisions, who are going to put their teams in the best position to win it all come October.
You know, Wayne, the guitar analogy, when Larry used the car analogy, you could use the guitar analogy with some of these teams, Wayne. What is it about the guitar analogy in trying to build a ball club?
No, well, I don't think you could do that with baseball because some of those extremely old vintage guitars are so well cherished. They get up into the 7-figure range after a while. So I don't know if that'd be a good analogy. Yeah, well,
that'd be a good analogy.
Well, one of the things that I'm wondering about is not just you know, who's going to make moves, but where are they going to make the moves from? You know, you get teams like Oakland in the AL. You got Oakland, Toronto, and Florida Marlins. I'm sure there are several guys on those teams that are telling their agents, "Hey, make sure they see my hand raised. You know, who wants to go?"
You know, I'm glad you said the Marlins, Wayne. I'm glad you said the Marlins because subliminally, I don't know if you guys have seen Jazz Chisholm has just been putting Atlanta in the air.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, he looked good in the Braves uniform, JJ.
And let me tell you something. I have just at first I was like, oh, he costs too much. Now I'm like, you know what? Miami might just deal him because he's somewhat expensive in their taste, and he does have infield experience. So maybe your second baseman could be Jazz Chisholm Jr. in a Braves uniform, and that would be awesome because he can, as you mentioned, Todd, what the Braves are not doing, stealing bases. Michael Harris and Ronald Acuna, gone. So you get Chisholm in there with Kelnick, who's starting to steal a little bit of bases here and there. That's a 1-2 punch at the top of the lineup that might be able to walk you into the playoffs a little bit. So I'm glad you mentioned the Miami Marlins there, Wayne.
I am glad too, Wayne. Now we'll go over to the National League. And, guys, we know Atlanta's going to buy. We know the Mets are going to buy. St. Louis, probably. The teams that we're looking at maybe to buy, probably the Padres. Arizona maybe from a year ago, but my interest is Pitt, Cincy, the Cubs, the Giants, and Washington. Washington's only 5.5 out of the wild card. Every team is in it in the NL but 2, Colorado. You guys mentioned Miami. Atlanta's only 2 games from being out of the wild card. This is more fascinating than the American League. And, guys, I think the American League is fascinating. So, you know, to me, I'll take this, if you don't mind. Pittsburgh's the team to me. Well, Cincinnati stayed healthy. I think with De La Cruz, they can really take off, but they haven't been injury-free. Pittsburgh lost today. Brian Reynolds, he's a bat they got to have back. But, you know, Pittsburgh's the most intriguing team because they're led by Skeens, but they're only going to let them pitch so many innings this season. So you're only going to let them go far. And then the pitching, Larry, you know, they got to come up with a veteran arm, Larry and JJ. If they do, that tells me they're going for it to get in a spot, but they want to do it at the same time as not blow the system, the farm system, because that's how they're rapidly building, and they want to stay in the race. So, gentlemen, that's a delicate balance. But I'm telling you, Pittsburgh gets into a best-of-3 or a one-game gig. I like them because of one guy. Skeens, if they can keep the innings down and get a veteran and get in that playoff with a guy like Skeens, look out.
Yeah, the MLB is going to be wild down the stretch with the expanded playoffs. It's kind of created this parity like the NFL has where almost every team has a shot. Guys, again, if you like the content, ladies too, of course. If you like the content, give us a like, give us a subscribe, a thumbs up, hit the notification buttons so you can get notified for our latest content. Guys, let's get into the final thought of the evening. And mine's pretty simple. I'll kick it off again. It's football season. With all these Braves injuries, it's football season. We're 38 days away from the Dogs and Clemson kicking off in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and I just can't be more excited about college football. I'd say in about 2 seasons, okay? I'm not going to lie. When Georgia had Keely Ringo and all Stetson Bennett, I kind of knew we were going to be pretty good. So I'm excited for the 12-team playoff. I'm excited for all the chaos, the SMUs and the ACC, the UCLAs and the Big Ten. I'm excited for all of it. 38 days till week 1. 31 days if you want to count week 0. There are some cool week 0 matchups. Georgia Tech, Florida State, and Dublin, Ireland. That'll kick the whole season off. So I can't be more excited, guys. It's football season. Larry, what's your final thought, buddy?
Yeah, my final thoughts surrounds the Olympics and the quote-unquote U.S. men's basketball team, and how much different has it been since it transpired, since the original Dream Team in 1992 to this team led by LeBron James, and how different the world or the international game of basketball has become, and how teams like South Sudan can hang with the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, I come to let you know there are now 72 international basketball players that are on NBA teams. In 92, there were 4.
Yeah.
The game has become an international game, and it's not going to be a cakewalk for the U.S. team to come away with gold there in Paris.
Well said. Wayne, give us your final thought. We'll let Todd have the last one.
Well, my final thought's going to be about the Texas Rangers winning streak. They won 2 games in a row, and for Texas, that is a winning streak. However, they won those games against Chicago White Sox, and it looks like they're going to win again tonight. So if they hit that 3-game winning streak, that could be a season-leading streak.
Todd, what you got for your final thought tonight, my friend?
Wayne said it, and Lou Brown said it in the movie
Major League.
Cleveland Indians. What?
Major League.
Major League. You know, I did this deep voice. If we win tomorrow, that's 2 in a row. That's a winning streak. God, it hurts my throat to do that. But I want to piggyback off what Larry said. Even though there are more teams and the game has become more international, you look at that talent on the floor. The United States should be beating teams like Sudan like a drum. And I'll flip it over to women's. Man, NBC has got to be crying because they're going to lose big ratings. They should have put Caitlin Clark on that basketball team. She's a WNBA All-Star. They should have put her on that team. Even if they didn't start her, she came off the bench. Eyeballs, money. NBC's got us crying because I'm telling you what, the women's basketball, the ratings would have went way up. The box office would have went way up. The intrigue would have went way up. Sports talk radio would have been talking about it until the cows come home. That's what women's basketball needs is PR and publicity, and they blew it, and I think the WNBA is blowing it also. They need to make Caitlin Clark the face of women's professional basketball.
So well said, well thought out point. Final thought there. I, on the other hand, am going to just hang my hat on the football season because I'm ready for it. You guys, that's been a great show. Again, if you like the content, please follow us at ATL Prime Sports across the board. For Larry in Adairsville, Todd in Woodstock, our producer Wayne in Memphis, I'm JJ right here in Lilburn, Georgia. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next week. Get you one.